Center. We are now joined by the driver of the #1 Page Construction Chevrolet Monte Carlo, I suppose, Rodney Sandstorm, a.k.a. Jordan Taylor. And there are plenty of questions I could ask, but I think for those who don't have the background education, how did the whole Rodney Sandstorm moniker come about?
Yeah, it started back in 2017. Jeff Gordon drove with us at the Rolex 24, and I was just at a restaurant with him having lunch, and ran in a random town, and just fans were recognizing him at the restaurant. And I figured I could probably trick him and buy a jacket online off of eBay and dress up as a Jeff Gordon super fan and trick him. And I did it. I grew a mustache and everything, and he caught me, so it kind of ruined the whole joke. But it kind of exploded from there, and yeah, I think everyone likes it. It kind of drags on for me a little bit, but it's good for the fans. Everyone loves it. It's cool to bring the colors like this back here to such a special place like North Wilkesboro. So for me, it's super special. I'm still friends with Jeff, so I think he gets a kick out of seeing a lot of this stuff too.
We'll open it up for availability as always. Raise your hand, state your name and affiliation, and I imagine we'll have plenty of questions here for on this. Bob, we'll start with you.
Bob Marcus, Fox Sports. What are you looking forward to about experiencing an oval? And then also, a colleague announced today that you're going to be doing Portland for them in the Xfinity car. So, but you might be somebody, maybe do you have any experience there, and what are you looking forward to there?
Yeah, I mean, this whole experience for the late model was just to get my first taste of an oval. Greg Ives from Hendrick was actually the one who made this introduction for me with E33 Motorsports. So I was like, yeah, I'd love to try it just to experience what an oval's like after doing COTA and getting a little bit into the NASCAR world. So we made the race, which was the #1 goal heading into the weekend, and then tonight we'll just kind of learn as we go and see how it goes. Try to stay out of trouble as much as we can, but yeah, it's been a fun process so far. I've always been a fan of late models and short track racing in general, so to get here to such a big event was probably not the best idea to be thrown in the deep end, but I'm at least learning on track against guys that know what they're doing. So yeah, that's been great. And then yeah, the colleague racing deal at Portland is super exciting. After doing COTA with Hendrick, practicing qualifying went very well. The race didn't go as planned, but I think I at least showed some speed, and I spoke to a colleague about a week after that to see if there were any openings, and there's a clash with Cup that weekend, so it fit in perfectly. So I've always wanted to do road course races in NASCAR, so to get the chance to fill in for Chase was a huge opportunity that I really wanted to capitalize on to show that I could drive a car like that. And yeah, I'm glad that the second opportunity has come up. So definitely want to maximize that one as well and have a good night tonight. It's all been enjoyable for me so far.
Mr. Weaver, I think I saw your hand. If not, we'll put you on the spot anyway. You can think of something, right?
Yeah, I can. Sorry, I'm multitasking. Not multitasking enough, apparently. Okay, so, sorry, you put me on the spot, man. The whole Rodney Sandstorm gimmick, I guess, for lack of a better word, we're running with it. You're on the entry list, you got the fire suit. So I mean this somewhat seriously, but also kind of jokingly, too. For like tax reasons, do you create like an LLC? Is it the Rodney Sandstorm LLC? Because it's not under your name.
Are you with the IRS? No, I mean, I've never. This is like when they put on the entry list, I don't even know if it's legal to do this.
That's kind of what I wondered.
I'm not getting paid as Rodney, if that's the question. I'm never going to finish in the prize money, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. But like some events, I've been like hired to do as Rodney, like appearances as Rodney. But yeah, thankfully, I haven't had to make any alter accounts for my banking.
And then you had mentioned, you follow short track racing here and there, and you're a fan. And I'm curious, as a sports car guy, what is your background following short track racing? How in tune to this discipline are you?
I mean, not super in tune, but I've obviously followed guys like Austin Cindric and guys like that have crossed over, Andy Lally, who've tried to make the switch. So every time they would make a switch, I would always keep a close eye on it. And when guys like Chase Elliott or someone run a smaller class race, that always intrigues me to see kind of how they do. And when they don't do well, it's like, that shows how competitive the lower levels of circle track racing are. So I knew coming into this, I was never going to be at the front. It was going to be a big learning experience. So I'm a fan of it. I'm still learning lap after lap and watching. I was watching footage last night in my room of the race last year of the other class. So now that I've kind of experienced it, I'm sure I'm going to be hooked on watching every race. But yeah, I've just been loving the whole process of learning this new challenge. you.
Go front to Nate.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Jordan, we see different drivers try to come over, especially into the NASCAR world, as what you did at COTA. And for as talented as drivers are, there is that challenge. And obviously, years and years ago, we saw more of that happening. Again, sports have changed, but motorsports has changed. How difficult of a transition is that for somebody like yourself that hadn't had that type of training? And is that something that is, look, you've got a day job, I understand that, but is that something that's worth putting the time and effort to pursue, or to be able to try to select more races in the future? I mean, how hard of a road is this that you started at COTA or even before then, and maybe trying to move forward on?
Yeah, I think I've been trying to do it for years, to be honest. I mean, I've been with Chevrolet since 2011, so it's been a long time with them, and every year in January I say I'd love to do a road course race if there's any openings that you hear about, and nothing's come up. It's just such a hard world to get into if you don't grow up in it. So it's hard to get those breaks, and I've known Jeff now since 2017 and built a relationship there, and then I got to know Chad Canals when he was working on the IMSA side with the 31 car, so that kind of led to the Garage V6 program, to me helping there, and then that experience led to when Chase was injured to fill in for him. And I think now that I've gotten that break to let my name be in this world, people at least will know who I am, and I think I qualified well at COTA to show that I can drive a car on a road course at least. So the driving part I think I can adapt to, even though it's a big heavy car. The racing was a different animal obviously at COTA, but I think that's just an experience thing which will take more races. But yeah, it is something I'd want to pursue at some level. I spoke to Jeff like a couple days after the COTA race. I'm like, would it ever be realistic for someone like me to make a switch if it was full-time or part-time? And he said, yeah, like if you commit yourself to it and do stuff like this, come to a late model race and learn from the ground up the basics of it. He thinks anyone can do it that has some level of talent. So I do have a full-time job that I love doing. I love sports car racing. It's my passion, what I grew up doing. But now that I've kind of gotten a taste of the NASCAR side, I would love to try to do more, whether it be a limited schedule or what it is. But after doing an oval here, I'll have to do some more of these just to kind of get more experience with it. And then if there are openings for a part-time schedule somewhere down the road, I'd love to give it a shot for sure.
What are you hoping to get out of tonight? Or what are you intrigued about, even after watching all the video and knowing what you know? That you haven't experienced? What are you intrigued to experience tonight?
I mean, I know I'm going to be uncomfortable. Like in our racing, you're door to door for 3 seconds at a time, and then hopefully you've made your pass or you've been passed. I know at COTA I was door to door on a road course for way longer than I've ever been door to door, and watching these races, that's what it all is. And guys are rubbing panels, and that's just something I'm not used to. So getting comfortable with that is a big aspect. When I touch a car in my sports car, it's like you get it on the radio, like, guys, I touched someone, sorry, hopefully everything's okay. And then you watch these races and they're not touching each other less than they're touching each other. So I think for me, it's just getting comfortable with leaning on each other and getting that understanding of how hard to lean on someone. Like when I rolled into the grid yesterday, I parked like 4 feet from the guy in front of me, and they're like, all right, you can roll forward. I'm like, okay, I got to 2 feet, like, all right, you're still 2 feet away. I'm like, okay, thank you for that reference. So stuff like that is just different for me that you can only get with time in the car. So yeah, hopefully I can do some more opportunities like this just to get more comfortable with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Back there with Fox 8.
Chris Weaver, Fox 8 WGHP. Jordan, what were your takeaways when you first made those first few laps? Like, what surprised you? What caught you off guard? With all of your experience in road racing and your talent, as you say, we all know, what kind of things did you do? I got to work on this, got to work on that. That's a little different. Give me some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a ton of time in this car before this race, so I did, probably an hour of track time at Orange County Speedway, and then maybe, like, I did a 50-lap run at Ace Speedway, but that adds up to 12 and a half minutes of seat time. So realistically, I don't have a lot of time in these cars. So when I got back in, I was racing Laguna Seca on the weekend, so a completely different car. So when I got back in, it was like, all right, get a much different feel of a car again. So the first couple laps were overwhelming with 40 other cars in the track and getting a feel for that, where you can't just focus on yourself. You've got a spotter talking to you, you're getting up to speed, the tires are old. it's a new track that I've never seen, so the first session was a disaster. Just getting up to speed and feeling out of place and uncomfortable, but by the time I got to practice 2 with new tires, I felt like it was a race car. I understood what it was doing with my inputs, and I could kind of find my line a bit better.
Steve Wilson, SpeedwayDigest.com. So here you are in Wilkes County, and you're going to be at Le Mans. You've been to the Rolex. What are your impressions now that you're here in Wilkes County, and when you stack it up against some of the other things that you're about to do or have done in the past, where does it kind of rank at this moment?
I mean, I love it. It's near the top for me. I'm a huge fan of the history of motorsports. So on the sports car side, we've got tracks like Sebring, Watkins Glen, Daytona, obviously, which has changed over the years. But Sebring for me is one that I always talk about when people ask my favorite facilities and tracks, and that's one that's been untouched since basically World War II when they built the airstrip there with the racetrack. So the bumps are still there in Sebring. Some people complain about them, but I love that it's the natural character. So when I drove in here, you know, I've obviously read and watched some old footage of this track back in the day. For me, it's awesome to see the asphalt old and having character like it is. You feel the bumps of what the guys probably used to feel back in the Cup days. And it's surreal to kind of drive through a small town, and then here's this awesome facility that's popped up. So I don't know what it looked like before all the renovations, but now it looks amazing. But I'm glad that the true raw nature of what this place is still there, the character of it. From that history, you still feel it, and those are the things that you don't feel a lot these days with new tracks being built, is you lose a lot of that character, and when you come here, you definitely feel it.
Any more questions for Rodney/Jordan? Okay, well, Jordan, thank you so much for your time, and best of luck in the